I came out of, I graduated from York University with a degree in fine arts, and Kathleen Duty, who does the lamps or the lanterns, she was living on the island, and there was a house that was empty. Some people, James and Lorraine, were going to Newfoundland for a year, so they needed someone to take care of the house. So I was looking for a change, and so I came across in the middle of the winter, and there were snowdrifts everywhere. The back door had blown open, and I came into their house, and there was a snowdrift in the living room, and I thought, wow, this is perfect. So I lived there ever since, and that was about 78.
I took a journey in 1980. I took a sabbatical from the theatre company that I've been working with in England, after working with them for about 9 years, and came to kind of track my roots of my US side of the family, because my mother was American, but also to work with Bread and Puppet Theatre, who had always been very instrumental in the kind of work that I wanted to do. And I got to Bread and Puppet and kind of immediately felt totally at home with that company, and stayed working with them for a year. I met Brad there, and then we kind of got together and moved to England, and then we moved back to the island because we had a daughter by that time, and it seemed a perfect place to bring up a child. So, yeah, and the rest is history.
And when I moved on the island, all the houses were in very bad repair. Um, the island had houses from Hanlon's Point to Wards, and there were some huge, big, glorious houses. But all those big, glorious houses had been knocked down, and there was just the scrappy little Eaton's catalog houses uh, that were left, homemade from tents to really tatty places, uh, were left, and the city was trying to get rid of us, and so we all banded together. What would happen is all the people who were the writers would write and liaise with newspapers and media people, and all the lawyers were in court, keeping the court battle going, and we as artists and performers realized that we had a role in it too, because we could paint banners, we could build puppets, we could make flags, we're a little bit more comfortable doing all that kind of stuff. So we started taking over that aspect of the fight to save the island. And it seemed to be the same group of us would, get together every time things were needed. We'd all get together, and in people's backyards or in people's living rooms or kitchen tables, we would build this stuff. So our houses were our studios, and uh, after things with the island politics settled down a little bit, I guess it was in 1982, an English theater group, Welfare State International, was in Toronto for the World Theatre Festival, and they looked around for a place where they could do a play. And they're a very political, community-oriented, an amazing group of people, and they picked an island, Snake Island, to do a show called The Tempest on Snake Island. So this very wild and wacky English theater group, I don't know, I guess about, I don't know, maybe 10 people came, and they could all sing and dance and play the accordions and build and work all night and tell stories, and it was just this amazing thing. And they galvanized the community, and the community almost as a whole got involved in their show, The Tempest on Snake Island. And it was a huge big hit of the theater festival that year. The event was so special that I wanted to work with all my friends, all my people that I've been doing all this political stuff with. Uh, I wanted to work with them on specific stories. We were building stuff. We were all builders. We were painters. We were, imagineering all kinds of stuff, but weren't storytellers. So we started looking around how to become storytellers and work in the visual storytelling medium to uh, package and present, an entertainment that was specific to us and the way we did things. Now, Whitney Smith was the guy who really got Shadowland together. Victor Coleman, Whitney Smith came up with the idea and the name, and they drew in a bunch of the people who had been doing all this stuff. So they were the people. Whitney especially was the guy who brought everyone together, and we were all sort of art, very creative people. So there was, I don't know, there was about 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 artistic directors at the time, and it was crazy because we didn't know anything about theater, and we didn't really know how to run a business. We didn't, and all this kind of stuff. So we got into all kinds of wild and wonderful problems because all we wanted to do was create. So we did this big show called Island Follies in 83, 84. And it was so fabulous and so overwhelming that uh, we brought back Boris and Maggie from Welfare State to be the directors of it, and it was so overwhelming that the end of the whole thing, they just said, our advice is to never do any theater again. Just like get out of it right now. Just let it drop because, otherwise you're going to kill yourself. This is, it was so amazing, and gut wrenching, and people have been friends for a million years. We're fighting, and it was so passionate and all this kind of stuff. Anyways, Deanne Taylor of Video Cabaret saw that show, and she at the same time had been really excited about what was going on in Trinidad, the Trinidadian Carnival. So she got in touch with us and said, I want to take a bunch of you people down to Trinidad and show you the carnival. So we all got on a plane, went down to Trinidad, and that's how we started getting involved in Caravana. So we were the first all-Canadian group, meaning sort of, I guess, all-white group, to enter Caravana. And we went down to Trinidad, the carnival in Trinidad, and it just completely fried our brains. We'd never seen anything like it. It's like the most wild thing you can imagine. So combining it with Welfare State, what they had taught us, and the parading culture and the carnival culture of Trinidad, we came back up here and we started doing parades and theater pieces. We just hired ourselves out as designers, builders, we would we'd create our own shows. We'd work for anyone who wanted us. And of course, we didn't know anything about anything. So we would get into situations where we were really way, way, way over our heads. We just always just leap right into the deep end. And mostly we would, find that if we would be able to finesse it, and we didn't, we, we didn't drown.
Mm.
And so here we are, 25 years later or something, and still we're basically doing the same thing. It's like someone says, oh, would you like to make a movie? It's like, whatever, sure, let's do it.
I think it's also, Shadowland was really involved in working within communities and animating the stories of communities before that was very popular. And we actually lost our funding once for doing so much community-based work because it wasn't theatre. And then, of course, everything changed and the flavour of the month became community theatre. And then if you did theatre, they didn't like it as much. So we, I think, have always just gone and really done what we felt was very important, and that is that theatre is a part of everyday life, and the artist is a truly valuable member of a community, like a plumber is, an electrician or a priest or whoever, that they're no more special or less special, but they're essential. And I think that's always been kind of a very strong philosophy. And at the same time, the artists sometimes need to do their own artwork. So sometimes, for instance, Shadowland will do a show that's only professional artists, but they may be puppeteers and odd people that don't follow the normal hierarchical tradition of a theatre setup. And then, the next day we're teaching bunches of kids to stilt walk, and then on another project we're trying to draw stories from a community, and then another one we'll do design for a theatre in the city on a show. So really it's the style of our work that seems to fit all sorts of different genres, but somehow there's always that Shadowland style.
In our work with Carnival, there's something that's called the Mass Camp, and it's the Masquerade Camp, and it's the camp where everybody comes and to be creative together. It's like a sewing bee or a barn raising.